marketing, entrepreneurship, and all things small business. You're listening to the Jurassic Marketing's Triceratops. Now, here's your host, Justin Miller.
Back and talking about being invisible.
Whoa!
I should have brought some magic tricks. I have a box of magic tricks from my childhood. Like once every 20 years it comes out. I probably should get those out before I have no kids.
I was at an event last week running audio for an event for a speaker I know. You probably saw the post.
Yes.
Good old Rob.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Magic Suit guy. He did pull out some magic tricks.
Oh.
And I was like,
He used to have an act called the Polish Magic Show. I think he renamed it.
Okay.
And probably doesn't do it anymore, but it was hilarious.
he was really funny and he was good. Although here I will tell you something. He's from Utah. And where afterwards there's like a hors d'oeuvres and stuff, and he's like, I don't really drink. And he grabbed one of these like alcoholic seltzers. He had one of them, and by the end of the seltzer, his eyes were bloodshot, and he was like, I really don't drink much. And all of us were like, Rob, are you okay? He's like, I just need to go eat. He's like, now I know I don't drink. But his I've never seen a speaker that was able to get non-DJs in the room. He got all these small business owners to like talk to each other and network. He's very good at his ability. He's not like in your face, like, you know, we're going to change the date with Destiny. We're going to change your world. He was just really, you probably know him a lot better than I do. I've only met him a couple times, but yeah, talk about an old school guy from Vegas there.
That's funny. Yeah. I mean, my memories go way back to being super young at DJ conventions, and he would have been too. I think we were a similar age. But yeah, I mean, that's a perfect tie-in because we're talking about, you know, being in the room where it happens.
Yeah.
This is about business owners not standing in the background and just waiting to be discovered, regardless of how good they are. And sometimes, you know, this happens. Like the worst outcome business is better at being in the spotlight and gets the business, and the guy that's actually better doesn't get the job. Mm-hmm. And it drives them nuts. Mm-hmm. Maybe they don't have that charisma.
Yeah.
They're not going to be up on stage doing magic tricks. And we're going to talk about, you know, being the right place. Sitting in the office doesn't work. I think it was Kennedy that told me the abbreviation, and I don't think it was his, but it was YCDBSOYA. Can't do business sitting on your ass.
True. Oh, you got a poster in the other room that has that. I always wonder what that. It took me years to figure out what that was with the horse on there.
Only one. It's a donkey, an ass.
Oh, is it? Well, see, that makes sense.
Only one person has ever known what that's meant.
And I mean, I had to look it up, and I'm like, it's got to be a Dan Kennedy thing. And sure enough, I was like, oh,
yeah. I don't think he coined it, but
that makes sense.
Yeah.
But so often, you're right. The person in proximity who has even remotely rudimentary skills sometimes gets the deal because they're in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, and on a personal level to me, so last year, 2025, I cut way back on travel. Mm-hmm. Way back. Like my airline and hotel status was at risk.
You dipped a little low. It's because you weren't traveling for all that Iowa women's basketball last year.
Yeah, well, we didn't fly for that.
Yeah.
Should have. If they get there again, we will.
You heard him.
Yep. By the time this airs, we should know.
Could be right about that time, yeah.
No, but this year I'm picking up a little on it again. I'm intentionally putting myself in rooms, and those are different rooms, and it's just being where the clients are. And that can mean different places. So it could mean attending events. It could mean sponsoring events. It could mean going to networking things if that's more your speed. I hate networking stuff.
Yeah.
Even with the seltzer, I wouldn't be working the room, and I don't drink at all. So.
And I noticed with him, he wasn't there. He was there as the MC, whatever. Wasn't even the keynote. I noticed because I'm running audio up front, and people come up to talk to him. He handed out a couple business cards to people, real estate agents mainly, who are like, I really would like to bring you in to talk to my office about this or that. And later, he in his, like, I've had enough to drink kind of, he was like, that happens a lot. When I said, how often does that happen where you're there to do something, you're speaking or to be an MC, you're not there to pitch your own stuff, but then later you book a client because they were impressed enough with your ability to get them to network. And he's like, it happens a lot.
Yeah. Usually that's the real money in the speaking gig.
Yeah. Right place, right time. Without him saying, I just happened to be here, I showed up and gave them value. But it was clear that they saw he represented value to them.
He's smart enough. He probably had that seated in the presentation.
Sure.
You might not have caught it.
True.
Is the equivalent of, when I do presentations and tell a story about something obscure, and inevitably, if there's a big enough crowd, people come up that resonated with that particular story.
Yeah.
So, I got a lot of mileage out of the story of that Element Mobile nightclub, which, you're intimately familiar with my foray and loss into that. Mm-hmm. And... yeah, big enough crowd, I always get a rave promoter that comes up to me. Always. So
that's funny.
But it's easier to build that trust in person. So you have to be where your clients are, your prospects are. It's not an either or. So in this case, we're talking a lot of offline things today, but it's not an online and offline. Like, you have to be both. There's a reason we're recording these podcasts. This is, there's some expense and there's a heck of a lot of time and effort put into these. I just looked at my accounting books for last year and saw how much we spent on the studio. So I'm intimately aware that there's expense. But if I could just do one, I would love to as a business owner. It'd be simple. We can't. Events, conferences, mastermind groups, all fair game. But it's usually like not all the magic happens in the room, as much as I said in the room where it happens. It's where the door opens. And it's what happens after that a lot of people fail on. And this is with expos too. So I saw that we just had bridal shows recently in the area.
Just Saturday.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I saw a lot of my old acquaintances posting on Facebook their booths. And I got the Facebook memory of my booth from 10 years ago.
Somebody said to me, I don't remember which vendor it was. It was our friend Randy, actually. And he's like, remember back when Justin used to have 3 booths here and he had like the whole corner of one end of the room?
we would go as high as we could.
Yeah. High as you could and
until they
wide.
started making like regulations on that.
Yeah. And after I bought the business for 2 or 3 years, we did the same thing. And the visibility and the ability to connect with people, it certainly cost more money.
It was a huge pain.
It was.
And expense.
But it works. And people remember it. Other vendors were like, remember the, and granted, Randy's been around forever, but other vendors too were like, yeah, you just don't see as many of the big triple, triple spaces where someone's taken over the whole thing. And
yeah, I mean, we were just kind of talking on the vendor note. We were just kind of talking about this yesterday in our sales and marketing meeting, because we're doing some events that are new to us as a sponsor. So we have unknown outcome on them. And, the thought is there's always the secondary market for us, which is the other vendors. Those relationships and opening those doors are incredibly powerful. As you know, even at like the bridal show world, when it's dead, what do? You walk around and talk to the other vendors if you're smart. And you keep building those relationships. And there's always people you don't know there. So it's always great. Offline often ignored or done poorly. So that's ultimately what we're going to talk about. Although offline also encompasses, in the mailbox, newsletters are great for that. And then email reinforces. It's also good for online, offline to drive back and forth. So example, you meet someone at a conference, you mail them a follow-up or a note or a nice to meet you or something like that. Or maybe we started with sending an advertising piece in the mailbox.
Okay.
And then we drive them to a landing page online. Or send a newsletter. We got our print newsletter monthly. We send emails that reinforce the themes and play back and forth. Or even within multiple media and multiple things online. So, we toy with our social media posts pushing to the podcast.
Sure.
And the podcast pushing to consult and all kinds of stuff. So everything really needs to live together. You can't silo it out. Going back to our previous episode, that doesn't mean find one agency to run it all for you. I think that's a recipe for disaster, but I digress. So let's talk about events and why they work, because it's really the same psychology as why direct mail works. So events work exceedingly well because everyone's kind of pre-qualified just by being there. They spent money, even if the ticket was free, hopefully it wasn't, but if it was free, they still spent time, effort, money, attention, all that fun stuff to be there. Conversations happen faster because there's natural trust. You're at an experience together. Even better if there's a social aspect to it. So I still remember one of the masterminds, one of the evenings they took us on a catamaran. So those conversations are different than sitting around a conference table. I got a picture sitting on a Longhorn at a Dan Kennedy event.
Yeah.
You know, and I can remember who was there. I can place that. It becomes harder and harder, to place things that happened inside
in a room
business setting, right?
Yeah.
So the conversations happen faster. Trust is really compressed. Like in a matter of days, just being in people's presence, you can get to a level of comfort that would have taken years from a marketing or a remote perspective.
I think even in the last 2 or 3 years post-COVID, business owners that actually have spent money to travel or to go to these events, there's something about the other people that are there that you're like, well, you're doing the same thing I'm doing. I have a certain amount of respect for you already. We've got a little bit of you're here and I'm here, and everybody else is back at home who didn't want to come to this event.
Yeah, and I think most people let their guard down easier.
Yeah.
They drop the
Because
facade.
it's like familiarity. I mean, you're right. You want people in your industry or even semi in your industry that you're like, I can probably talk to you because you're here, so you're not wasting your time.
Yeah.
Or you're not an amateur at this, I guess.
Yeah, if you spent the money to be there.
Yeah.
And Zoom is not the same as in the room. I just turned down attending an event because I couldn't make it in person. And they did have a Zoom option, but it's not the same. And we have a Zoom option for our workshop coming up, but it's by demand, not necessarily by my own personal preference.
Yeah.
You have some options on attending, which is interesting. So when you're attending a conference or event, you can go as an attendee or you can go as an exhibitor or sponsor. And different intents and outcomes with each. So attending, obviously, way cheaper than sponsoring. And you're focused on just one-on-one relationship building with your colleagues you're sitting next to. You're sitting in conferences. You meet them before sessions, after sessions, have meals with them, all that fun stuff. Primary outcomes, learning, networking. The relationships will probably go somewhere over time if you keep in touch, but a slower outcome if you're actually trying to make money while being there. The second option is exhibiting. Exhibiting gives you, obviously, the visibility from the physical presence of a booth or a banner or whatever you get. It gives you the authority, like the borrowed authority from the event promoter that hopefully they didn't just put you there, because you cut the check. Most of the time they did, but hopefully they didn't.
Jeez. It's true. Unfortunately, he's 100% right about that.
Even at really good events, most of the time you can cut the check and just find your way in.
Yeah, yeah.
But exhibiting's tough. It's super expensive for events that are worthwhile, and it requires some very deliberate follow-up.
It is. The one time I helped you when we went to Phoenix, I thought it was going to be, you're like, hey, can you come help? And I just need you to initiate conversations. And some of them were super easy, and other ones were like they were just in a big hurry. It was tougher than I thought it was going to be. I thought it would be like, hey, let's talk.
Yeah.
It wasn't nearly as easy as I was thinking it was going to be.
Yeah, and if we left there with no contact information in hand, we were in trouble.
Yeah.
But if we also didn't have our follow-up set before we got there, we were in trouble as well, because we aren't setting the right thing there. So
yeah,
this is where my old background in the multi-channel automation, funnel builds, follow-up builds comes in handy. You want to build one of those for events for sure, at least a basic one. You don't have to overcomplicate it. I guess there is a third option between attending and exhibiting, but it's like the gray area that the show producer doesn't want you to do, and that's backpacking or briefcasing.
Yeah.
Where you're walking the floor and you're kind of handing out business cards and having sales conversations. That's usually forbidden by the event organizers, but it goes on. I'm not necessarily suggesting it. I will tell you, in the same group, attending versus exhibiting has a drastic difference. So there are groups I was members of and attending for years, and it wasn't me that changed, but then we had a booth, and magically the conversations all changed with the same people.
For better or for worse?
For better.
Okay.
And now they're looking for solutions, and we're actually talking about spending money.
Okay.
When we've been trying to have that conversation for 3 years now.
That makes sense.
It gives the time and space, and it's just a signal that when someone's there as a sponsor, they're obviously there to sell something. We get that.
Yes.
So that's out of the way now.
Okay.
So it's very clear. So I would do that. Other considerations when you're figuring out what to do. And I'm going through this right now as we evaluate multiple new events. We evaluated multiple new events last year as well. Attending is a good option if it's a new market you're not familiar with, or if you're actually just trying to learn. So I'm attending multiple events that I'm not trying to sell anything at. I'm there to learn, but I'm also there to see the concerns of that particular market. So what are they talking about? And this is good market research for anyone, for any media. What are they concerned about? What are they talking about? What seminars are they attending? They're spending time, effort, money being there. It's important enough. And this is a really quick way to size up the pain points of an industry. And then you can see if your solution aligns with those pain points. And then maybe you want to come back and be an exhibitor. So that's kind of how we do that. I have at least one I'm attending for that purpose. There's a second one that I don't have time to actually fully attend. I have time for a drop-in, so I'll be blatantly reaching out to the sponsor salesperson and saying, hey, can you give me a tour of the event when I'm in town? So sponsoring's good for that brand dominance, the authority positioning. It often requires repetition. It depends on the group. Some of these groups are like really close-knit, and the outsider that is their first
they're kind of insulated. I noticed that a little bit when we were in Phoenix. It was like not a good old boys club, but it was very clear who the insiders were and who the people were there trying to get inside or seek new knowledge or whatever it was.
Yeah, and sometimes that works for us, sometimes it doesn't. So we've abandoned ship on some of those. They were one and done for us because you have to evaluate what your payoff is. And if it's not enough to offset that expense and investment of resources, then you should kill it. Even if you could win after 3 or 4 years, there might be a better spot for a quicker return. The other problem I see with sponsorships is a lot of these like event producers have gotten really smart to sponsors are willing to spend money. And you should be able to size up pretty quick if the sponsorships are built around serving members or attendees, or if they're built around maximizing how much revenue I can bring in off the sponsors. And there are multiple ones that we look at, sometimes even exhibit at, that it's very clear that this is a money suck, and I want every single dollar I can get out of these sponsors.
And is that where, and again, I'm not going to call out any particular people I've seen at these, but is that where you see some of these maybe far out, like I always think, like, how does that even relate to this industry? How are you here? What are you even selling?
Sometimes you get that. I'm talking more like it's a first-time event, and we have a 20-page sponsor prospectus.
Sure.
And we're selling everything from booth space to, a sticker on the badge for $5,000. And, though you can sponsor the Wi-Fi code and all these things that are common in events. Yeah. But it's very clear that it doesn't fit either the caliber or the experience or the outcome with this particular group. We see that all the time.
Okay.
So oftentimes, if we think the group's worthwhile, we'll come in there with a booth. But I'm not sponsoring your coffee station for $4,000 and having a little 1-inch by 3-inch logo. So if you think your logo is going to do all the work, like you get your logo in the sponsor program, and it's going to tell if you're bronze, gold, or silver.
Yeah.
No one cares.
Caramel latte. That's a very.
Who's looking at that? It's the other sponsors and the other potential sponsors. I'm like, who's sponsoring the event?
If I'm at whatever it is, whatever kind of convention, sponsors, unless you have something I need, and I'm going to make the rounds of the entire, every table.
Yeah,
so I'm going to find.
You would talk to everyone.
I'm going to find. Yeah, you wouldn't. I'll go talk to people that I don't even want to buy from because I'm just interested. But sponsor list. I'm never going to be like, I need to go talk to that widget or whatever. But if I see you and you can talk to me and present, and of course then you're going to give me a potato bag chip to clip to put on my or whatever, or a pen. A sponsor list never impresses me because I don't know most of them.
It's another reinforcement point, but if it's in your value equation at all, you're probably looking at the wrong thing. So those are some surface level considerations for sponsoring or attending. It's another type of event, and that would be mastermind groups. And you and I have talked about this on and off over the years. I think we have some very early podcast episodes on it. But masterminds, smaller room, less people. And I'm talking about true masterminds, not someone that picked up the term mastermind and then puts 150 people in a room. That's not a mastermind. Mm-hmm. So small room where you have time in front of everyone. You have really high trust and confidentiality in the group. you have time to have longer conversations. You have more meals with people. Those relationships are extremely valuable over time.
They're higher level relationships, right?
Well, they're real relationships that take time to build.
Sure.
And you have the time and space to build them, I guess, is the difference there. So that's good for peer level positioning, referral generation, and strategic partnerships. So oftentimes, I'll be having a lunch with someone and there is something we can do together. It doesn't mean it's going to happen immediately after that event, but we continue to have clients pop up that I was in mastermind groups with 5 to 13 to 15 years ago now. And they continue to pop up. So those are real business relationships. Some of them personal friends I would consider at this point. So masterminds are a different beast. They still can produce profit beyond whatever the actual deliverable of the group is. Obviously, the group is hopefully coaching each other and helping each other succeed. So you have a primary benefit. But a secondary benefit is if you have something that can serve them, oftentimes people will hop from the group to be a client as well. So you don't actually go in there and just try and sell stuff that pretty much get you banned immediately or everyone else is going to think you're a complete idiot. But you do have to show up consistently. You have to help. You have to stay visible. So there is a very, very real time and money consideration to masterminds, and I'm evaluating one right now myself. But the resource allocation is very high as far as getting in and seen. You can sign up and just cut the check.
How is that different? And I've never belonged to one that small. How is that different? Like a BNI group? Is that mine or yours? Oh yeah, that's mine.
It's you.
Wow.
BNI group is completely, and sorry BNI people, it's completely built on I'm going to give you business, you're going to give me business. There is no other illusion for what that group is about, and there is no reason that you're supposed to be referring other than the fact they're a member of a group in the category. Which to me is it's a shitty way.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying.
Or it's a shitty rationale for why to refer. Let's put it that way.
Because you're not really building trust. You're not really building. I'll refer once or twice, and then I might get tired of it or whatever. You don't really get to know people, or you're still competing.
Everyone wants something. No one's giving something.
That's a good point. And I'm assuming in a mastermind, at least the way you've spoken about them, you're truly
is not a referral group.
You're truly giving. And you're getting, and you're listening more than you're talking, and you're experiencing.
A mastermind often includes a segment where here's what's going on in my business, here's the problems I'm having. Open mic, please help.
Okay.
It's not what vendor do you know? What do you know? So all three of those, attending, exhibiting / sponsoring, and masterminds are rooms worthy of being in if you find the right groups. They all have to be evaluated. The magic in all of them is the long-term relational build. And of course, our tactic for that is newsletters. So because if you do them our way, they get personal content there, and it helps in between the meetings build that relationship. Well, so when you're in the room again, they feel like they know you and you're picking up a conversation rather than starting from scratch.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, they attend and that's it. Like, all right, I'll be back again in 4 months or 3 months. Masterminds are usually 2, 3, 4 times a year. That's typically how those work. But yeah, you should have a rhythm for staying in communication. If it's a very small group and they're super important to you, you probably could do this manually like you would a real friend. But guess what? My real friends are on the newsletter list as well. So I guess that's not mutually exclusive. And you can always send a gift. Timing, size, value, all dependent on the relationship size. But we like to send, a shock and awe type box for following up from events with solid leads. So if they're sales qualified leads, they had a conversation in the booth, we will send them something that cost us, $20 or $30 to get out the door. And what's in there kind of matters. Obviously, a personalized, thoughtful gift would be the best. We kind of have to back that off for scalability purpose. But yeah, getting something in their physical world, their mailbox. We have our stuffed dinosaurs, which seems silly, but they sit around, and now I'm in people's world, or they give them to their kids. So the gifts by memory. You get a little attention with them, but ultimately it makes it memorable. If I could get like a picture of my rental car driving through the fire.
At night, no less.
On your newsletter this month, those of you that are on it, I did use the picture of me on horseback on the beach.
Okay.
So
Nice.
I guess that means I could write off the whole vacation if I wanted, right?
Pretty sure that's what that means.
Until the audit, and then all my tax resolution friends would be happy to help me.
They would help you out. Yeah.
So yeah, here is in a nutshell how to do it. So build yourself a little system, find 1 or 2 events that you want to attend, more if you love travel. But 1 or 2 a year is probably a solid target for most. If you have staff, then it can be 1 or 2 per staff member. Figure out if you're attending, you're sponsoring. Capture contact info as best as you can. We love text in things in the booth, so we have cell phones, and it can get one more media. We can have text.
What's your
messaging.
take on using a giveaway to capture that info?
I think it depends on the audience.
Okay.
It depends on the audience. So it also depends on quantity of people there. For instance, we have a legal group we went to, and I think we were giving away an iPhone or something. So a prize that was like $1,000 or so. But you know what? If they're successful and our clients are like the ones that would hire us, they got the phone they want.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's something. If you need a conversation starter, it's a good conversation starter.
Okay.
But the people that will just come and sign up for the sake of signing up, they're legitimate leads by the fact they're in the room.
Yeah.
But they might not be a qualified lead yet at this point. So
Okay.
give or take. Or sometimes what we've done if we have a lot of lower value events is, we'll get a big prize like that, and in the fine print we'll have like 1 per quarter, or we'll group some events together to get to a critical mass to where it's worth giving away the prize. So, yeah, I mean, if they're in the budget, and honestly, in the scheme of exhibiting, if you're sponsoring, the prize is pretty cheap.
Yeah. No, that's probably true.
even a good one's pretty cheap.
Yeah.
So, be everywhere. It's not online, not offline. It's everything, and I think that's only going to get harder, more difficult, more sweat as time goes on.
Yeah.
Capture the info, follow up. Don't forget to follow up. My God, don't forget to follow up. That's where the real money is. And they're not all going to be slam dunks, just like any type of marketing. We have done ones and we failed and we lost 15 grand. And that's where you see which promoters were trying to get sponsor money versus which ones were trying to provide value.
That makes sense.
Because some of them will bend over backwards to try and get you some value after the fact still. Now, that doesn't mean that they can. It depends if there's a match with the audience or not. But that's a really interesting conversation we've had to have a couple of times. But we love it when people are willing to attempt to and work with us. So that's it. So it's get in their world, be where probably your competition is not, and then we can accelerate trust extremely quickly while we're there, which is like a win-win. But we have to follow up. We have to close that loop. Follow up consistently. Get them on whatever you use. If it's an email broadcast system, if it's print newsletters, if it's both, or if it's there's an extremely few amount of people and you love being social and you're going to call and text, go for it. But it's worth the hassle of travel.
It is. And the relationships you build, if you foster those, because not everyone's going to do that. If you do all these things that Justin's talking about, there is the payoff because, A, you become top of mind because so many people aren't doing it, or they do half of it or a quarter of it, or they follow up one time and then they're like, you fall off the face of the earth.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I wasn't sending the newsletter, then people might remember something about me from events several years ago.
Remember those shirts you're wearing?
Yeah, I didn't have them back then. They might remember that if there was like a personal connection, and they would think to themselves, I wonder what that person's doing now. But that doesn't like equate to doing business with and referring business to.
Yeah, I don't like it when people do that. And they're like, where's Kevin now? Or they run into me at Hy-Vee and I'm like,
I heard you on the radio.
Are you that guy from the radio from 10 years ago? No. I don't know who you are.
So there you go. Be in the room where it happens. Be in our room for either our virtual workshop or our in-person workshop.
Yes.
Workshop.jurassicmarketing.com is where you're going to find details on that. Really the most condensed, accelerated version of how to get direct mail working better for you. And side benefit, get to meet your other attendees.
That often is fun. That's the thing. You can make some new relationships with some interesting people. Sometimes really interesting people.
And if you come to the in-office one, maybe we'll get some good Mexican food.
Oh, yes. Trust me, that's a plus. That's a thing you might want. There's some great Mexican restaurants close.
They were thinking steakhouse, and I said
No,
Mexican.
yeah. There's some good taco places near here.
All right, that's our wrap for today.
Whoa,
We're
yeah.
ending on tacos.
That's a hard close.
I'm hungry. It is dinner time. We are recording after hours to make sure that we do not miss
Keep that
a week.
streak alive.
We are going to keep this going all year for you. We have a slew of special guests coming up in upcoming episodes here. So I am super excited about that. You'll hear a little less from me and a lot more from them. And as always, we're here to help. If you need anything, just reach out.
Thanks for listening to the Triceratops podcast. Be sure to subscribe and leave your comments. For more information on how Jurassic Marketing Direct Mail can help grow your business, visit JurassicMarketing.com.